Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. Thanks for joining. This webinar is going to be around transitions. So we've labelled it into decisive decisions and actions within transitional moments of the game. My name is Sam Meek. I'm a national coach here at the FA with the under-18s, and I am a coach educator on the UEFA goalkeeping licenses as well. My previous clubs have been Bolton Wanderers, Birmingham City, and Aston Villa, and I'm joined here by Matt Doyle.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. As you can see, that's my previous clubs listed there. Joined a year ago, actually, today. So joined from Arsenal, and similar to Sam, I'm a national goalkeeping coach working with the under-17 squad and also a coach educator.
First question would be, why transitions? Why are we sort of focusing on that sort of element? I think when me and you were talking, Matt, we were sort of going up and down the country and seeing loads of excellent sessions that you guys are doing out there, and we thought, there's a really good link in between people understanding possession very, very well, the out of possession elements as well. But I suppose the question we're asking is, what about the bit in between? Are we recognizing and anticipating when we change from in possession to out of possession, and vice versa when we have the ball and we're going to lose it? Are we sort of anticipating those moments? So are we looking through the keyhole? So you can see on the graphic there, if you're looking just at the player, are we anticipating what's going to happen, or do we look around the player? Are they going to lose it? What's the moment looking like for us? So we sort of looked at that, and that's potentially why we did that. And the biggest question mark that we should all have, including ourselves, when we're working with the national teams is, are we coaching it? Do we do enough around it? We're going to look at in possession and out of possession, and obviously the vice versa. So out of possession to in possession. We'll look at what are the key considerations and what do we think that we need our goalkeepers to know during these moments with the triggers and cues. We're also then going to look at the second section. We're going to look at how we can coach it. And are we asking ourselves the question throughout this whole webinar and beyond, is it coached enough? And then lastly, we're going to have a little look into the physical considerations within transitions, what we need our goalkeepers physically to produce within these moments. So we're going to look at two things, really. So the first thing is emergency. So we've broken movements down into two areas. So the first movement is emergency. So it's a movement that is direct movement and decision to engage the transition straight away. So the considerations of why you would make that movement might be the time element of it. So on the moment of the turnover, there's an immediate opportunity for the opposition to score right there and then. And also the distance as well. So the distance to engage the player as the goalkeeper is shorter and more effective rather than retreating to the goal. But throughout all this, while we're in possession, we need to be considering these two things. So in terms of our position, are we involved? We're directly involved with the build phase, or are we now flipping into supporting? So the ball looks unlikely to come back into us, and we're looking to be ready for transitional moments. I really like this clip now. So if you can see this goalkeeper, he's now not necessarily involved in possession. He's now gone into the support movement. The reason he's probably gone into the support movement here is the centre-back looks like he's going to play the ball forward. He's highly unlikely to come back into the goalkeeper. But you can see how that support movement actually helps the goalkeeper in the transitional moment. So the ball's given away, but there's now an emergency movement to go and engage the player. And what I want you to look at as I just get this, look at the player now. I can't quite see his number, but the player who's rushing into the goal now to try and defend the goal line. The goalkeeper's left the goal to put some pressure onto, you'll notice this is Cole Palmer in a minute. Here's his movement throughout, so just keep an eye on him. There's that emergency movement to go and engage. And you'll see maybe why. These are the triggers and cues of why he engages. You can see as Cole Palmer now intercepts the ball, he's actually facing away from the goal. And that is the moment that Martinez in this clip, who's playing for Aston Villa, starts to go towards the ball. You can see again, I'll just take it back a little bit just in case you missed it. What I want you to look at is Cole Palmer quickly has a look there to see where Martinez is before he can turn. As he now turns and faces up Martinez, the ball's in his feet. He's looking to shoot because Martinez is right on top of him with that emergency movement. So a prevention movement is a decisive decision to retreat to prevent a direct goal being scored on the moment of the turnover. So again, the considerations might be slightly different. In terms of time, on the moment of the turnover, there's enough time to deny immediate goal scoring opportunity by retreating towards the goal. What you've also got is the opportunity to score. The distance, the opportunity to score is directly impacted by the distance and area of the pitch of where that turnover happened. And quite simply, we're thinking the exact same things again. While we're in possession, are we involved in the build, or are we supporting the build? Because they mean two different things positionally. But also prevention movements might be small movements, not necessarily big movements. So see if you can spot the little prevention movement. And again, we're going to talk about this. So if we look now in this picture, the goalkeeper is now directly involved in the build. But watch the movement. There's just a subtle little 2 or 3 yards drop now. The reason he drops now is he's now supporting the build. Highly unlikely that ball is going to come back into this goalkeeper. So he's now looking to support the build, which again, in turn, helps him for the transitional moment if the ball's given away. I want you to watch the goalkeeper scan and look. So now you can see the goalkeeper is now assessing the number 4 for him. The blue team is trying to receive the ball, but there's an aggressive press from the wide left player of the red team. And it's that prevention movement, drops in, but then there's a little movement there and holds his position. So sometimes prevention movement may be staying in a good tactical position.
So we're going to break it down into 3 areas. So the first one here, as you can see, is counter-attack. So we're asking the goalkeepers, can they exploit space? So the scenario I'm sort of trying to paint a picture here for you guys is you've now regained the ball as the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's first thought could be, is there space to exploit? So what might the considerations be for this? Naturally, it could be the state of the game. So, we've all been there and you work with your players. Sometimes you've got to know when the goalkeeper just needs to stay on it and maybe, you might be under pressure. The scoreline may suggest that, which as you can see is the next point. So these are moments where naturally a goalkeeper should be considering the state of the game, the scoreline, before we look to counter-attack. Okay, pretty self-explanatory, I'm sure. Additionally, we should be considering not only your own teammates' capabilities, but potentially the opposition as well. So what we mean by that is you could have, an incredibly quick forward player that you know really well, and you want to utilize his physical attributes to counter against the opposition potentially. Okay, so certainly having the goalkeepers understand their teammates' capabilities could be a potentially really important part. So I think what's worth mentioning as well, I've referenced teammates' capabilities, but also what about the goalkeeper's capabilities? So we've got Jordan Pickford here in the clips, as you can see. He's certainly very capable at all types of distribution. So naturally, he's going to want to utilize what he can do on the ball, and especially with the teammates around him. So as you can see there, he's utilized the quick throw to try and exploit space nearer the halfway line. So moving on to the next part. So we've named this recycle. So again, if you're in the goalkeeper's shoes, you've now regained the ball. What next? Now we're zooming in more on managing the game and what may be required from your goalkeepers in this particular scenario. So again, similar theme, considerations, naturally the state of the game and the scoreline come into it again, because it could be, again, you could be winning. So you might have to manage the game, manage the score, run the clock down potentially. As we know in certain games, that could be an important factor. Or it could be, your team has been under pressure a bit and naturally you just need to regain some sort of control. So your goalkeeper may be required to potentially slow it down and manage the game in that way. Additionally, as we said before as well, so knowing your teammates' capability. So this, if you flip it in a different way, this could be, your teammates are really tired, for example. It's the latter stages of the game. Is it on to counter? Potentially not. So do we just need to have a spell where we're potentially keeping it? Again, you need to really understand what's going on around you with your teammates as well. And then lastly, as you'll certainly see from the clips that we'll show now, what's the current state of your team's structure after a transition. So, it could look different to how it might look at a kickoff, for example. You could have a fullback that's gone inside or gone on an overlap. So is the goalkeeper really aware of, what the current structure is, which should inform their next decision? Slightly different here. This goalkeeper, pretty straightforward, has recognized that, quite simply, play the obvious pass. So again, that goes back to my point. If I just pause it there for a second, knowing the state of the game and what might need to be happening, or what might be required from the goalkeeper, they simply just need to play the obvious pass and keep the team in control of the ball. So the last point that we'll make is similar to the ones before from Sam. So we're looking at some emergency actions. So naturally, as it says at the top, this could be still retaining the ball, but it could also be a clearing or a defending action. So again, on the left-hand side, as you can see, the goalkeepers have got to be super aware that time's probably going to be minimal because it's naturally potentially happen quickly. And they've got to really make a quick decision. Is it a defending action, or can they still retain the ball? Which hopefully the clips will be quite clear. So if we move on to the clips, jump the gun a little bit there. There we go. So some considerations here. So again, the situation. So, what is the situation that they're in? Is it a situation where they have to defend the space quite simply, and there's no opportunity to retain the ball, and they simply need to focus on their out of possession actions? Naturally, the assessment of the goalkeeper will come into it. So, for example, there could be a really fast forward that's broke through, and you're not really got time to think about retaining the ball. It's quite simply turned into an out of possession action, as I've highlighted before. Again, the capabilities of your teammates and the opposition still very prevalent in this scenario. And then ultimately, you're looking for the goalkeepers to find, what's the best solution. This is probably quite linked well to the opposition clip. So as you can see here, Arsenal are currently out of possession. Man City are in possession. The ball gets transferred. So as you'll see in a minute, so Aaron Ramsdale comes into picture. And I'll just pause it there. So naturally now we go back to the word anticipating. So you'd like to think that Aaron is anticipating that this may come back to him. Is it guaranteed? No. But as you can see, and as we've highlighted, we believe he's scanning and being super aware of the what ifs. So if it does come back, what would his potential solutions be? As I play it on. Now it's looking a little bit more obvious, as you can see. So again, we're now going into the realms of what is his supporting positions looking like to best support the player on the ball or around the ball. So as you can see, it's looking ever so likely that he may get on the ball. So hopefully all that, proactive work he's done previous should hopefully land him in good stead for his potential action here. And as you can see, he's playing against a team that have tried to win it back quite quickly. So naturally, go back to the point I made about the time and the speed these things happen. Aaron's had to be really proactive there in having a solution ready. And as you can see, he managed to retain the ball. So
that's part one done now. So we've sort of had a little look at, the considerations. We're now going to look at session design and how this could look with certain goalkeepers. So I'm just going to go on to 3 goalkeepers first. And this is a session you may do. Again, I want you to take it into your environments. And, if you're working with the 9s and 10s, their 18-yard box or penalty box, as you like, is going to be a lot smaller, but you can still do a similar type session around this. You may have also done some activation bits before this, or you may have done some basic handling or movements before this, but this is just sort of a snapshot of a main session. So as you can see in this image, number 1 and number 2, the greens, they're 2 goalkeepers. The red is an attacker and the blue is a defender. So it starts with number 1 goalkeeper, who goes from in possession, plays it through to the attacker. They now become out of possession. The decision now from the A is to either take a shot on themselves, or they can pass across to the other goalkeeper. The blue defender always tries to get across and just get in the way and try and block the shot, which creates a little bit of an unsighted view for the goalkeeper receiving the shot. At the moment the shot comes in, number 2 now directly becomes out of possession. And you'll see some clips to this, so don't worry too much if you haven't quite got it from the stills. The number 2 drops into a position. Number 1 plays with his defender to play the attacker in, and then there's a decision on what the goalkeeper needs to do there. As it comes in, you can see the 2 goalkeepers. Yeah, you can see the attacker and you can see the defender, or those people replicating that. So as this ball gets played across from the goalkeeper, what he now does, he now goes to support. Because now that goalkeeper knows that I'm going to take a shot on, they get in a position to support, ready for a transition, just in case the other goalkeeper finds himself in possession of the ball on the moment of the shot. So he starts to come round. You'll see this now. The goalkeeper starts to come round, got his eyes on the practice, gets into a backpedal movement. Then there's a ball through. There's a decisive decision now from the goalkeeper. They get in a good tactical position to defend the goal because the defender is applying pressure to me, who's the attacker. The shot comes in on goal and they can make the save. So how this could look as 6 goalkeepers. We could be doing a session here where it's like more or less like an in-possession box in the middle of 2 areas, two penalty boxes, if you like. Again, cast your mind back to if you're working with 9 and 10-year-olds, the box and the area sizes may be slightly different for you. But the session can still work. So what you're looking at here, this goalkeeper, you might be, the Reds are trying to play into the opposite goalkeeper. So as this progresses through, the Reds are trying to get the ball into the goalkeeper, who's also working on support. The moment the ball goes into the goalkeeper, it's now out of possession for the Reds. So the goalkeeper retreats to the goal. There might be a bounce pass. If I'll just go back one slide, sorry. There might be a bounce pass to the end man, which is the coach, to get it back, to give enough time for that goalkeeper to drop in. And now it becomes a 3v2 practice with the goalkeeper joining in with the Blues to try and get some sort of out of possession scenarios. And if there's any turnovers, the session keeps going live constantly all the time. So just so you get an idea of the flow, the Whites are trying to play out and get into the green. So it now goes into the green. So the goalkeeper now, who's circled in red, he's now the in possession goalkeeper. The White goalkeeper is now out of possession. You can see clearly now, there's the 3v2. There's the 3v2. But the question I'm going to ask here, going back to what we've just discussed, as soon as that goalkeeper in red there has played the ball through, are they now involved because there's a shot, or should they take a slightly different position to support? Because if that ball, as this plays on, gets turned over now into the Whites, quite fortunate now that the Whites don't really recognise the goalkeeper's position. Yes, it ends up in a save, but there might be a different outcome next time.
I'm now the fortunate coach that has got outfield players. I've got goalkeepers. I've got all sorts going on, which is brilliant. Which I'm sure people in the chat we've probably experienced everything from what Sam's just explained to now what I'm going to go through here. So this practice here, done this recently actually a couple of times. So pretty self-explanatory, but there is a 4v4 plus 1 box in the middle. The goalkeeper in red that has the ball is the goalkeeper that we're going to look at focusing on the transitional moments with. So that goalkeeper is part of the in possession. So their aim is naturally to try and get it through to the opposite goalkeeper, who we've restricted to only support and stay in their 6-yard box. So, you know, we are looking at out of possession and potentially some in possession elements here, but I certainly think it's good that you can bounce them off one another. So here, although it wasn't a main focus, but we could certainly tap into this goalkeeper in at the top of your screen in terms of what's the best support position. How do you best get in a position that you can get the ball? So you know, you could even play around with you know, what color bibs they're wearing. So we probably all associate red as quite a bright color or danger or a traffic light. You've got to stop or you've got to do something different. So it could be as soon as you play to that red bib, the scenario that you've given is you've now given away the ball. So the carrot for the in possession team, or certainly the in possession goalkeeper, that if they can get it through to that goalkeeper at the top, it's now coming back to them. And we know what it's like. Goalkeepers naturally want to be busy and involved. So hopefully their in possession game should be pretty spot on so that it comes back their way. So yeah, coming back into the session, once it gets to that top goal, we now go full pitch. And in this instance, it's the width of the 18, as you can see there. And we turn it into a 3v2. So we're really looking at now, the goalkeeper's now won it. So you could say that this goalkeeper on the ball now has gone from out to in, and the goalkeeper that played it has gone from in to out. So loads of transition going on, and they're ultimately trying to score. So the goalkeeper now at the bottom of the screen, they've got a decision to make. So transitional moment, what does the goalkeeper do? Do they try and stay connected, and is it more of a defender space moment, or is it that prevention that Sam's highlighted before, that they've just got to drop and ultimately defend the goal? Just the way this flowed, yeah, always playing to a finish. And I suppose it goes without saying, but we were really big. Me and Sam actually did this session at one point. Just keep letting it flow, because you naturally get loads of transitions, don't you? So I suppose being comfortable letting it flow and having another ball ready. Probably stealing my own thunder there in a minute with my considerations box, but letting it flow as much as you can, and then we just flip it. So both goalkeepers get an opportunity to do it, and then you've got your outfield players involved. So hopefully a good sort of collaboration between, you know, yourself and your outfield coach. And certainly you could then, you know, if there's any goalkeeping coaches, which I'm sure there are on the call as well as outfield, but from a goalkeeping coach perspective, you could start maybe working with the defenders as well, and certain other players around to help support the goalkeeper. So we've got one goalkeeper now supporting the play. So at the top of your screen, the goalkeeper now supporting the play, and the goalkeeper in the bottom of the screen, as you've seen probably from the keynote slides that we've showed, the goalkeeper at the bottom of the screen was looking to support, right? So now the goalkeeper at the top of the screen, the transitions happen. They've now lost the ball. Well, that's the scenario we've given. Keep your eye on the goalkeeper at the top. Going back to Sam's point, they're looking at that prevention now. So it's a recovery movement to prevent a goal scoring opportunity. So they felt a bit vulnerable that they need to drop, and as you can see, they've dropped to their goal and made an effective action. Brilliant. Okay, so as it says, so we're now looking at the physical considerations. Okay, so I'm going to read this out for you because I think it's important that everyone reads it as well, and hopefully it lands with you. So we're saying it's one skill to identify and react to transitional moments in game, and another to be able to execute the actions needed to be in the best position to cover space or close it down. Okay, so start asking yourself, what are the physical considerations that underpin these executions? Okay, so hopefully you start having a better understanding of these actions and how they can be grouped together as transitional movements. Okay, so these include, so we're going to touch on acceleration over a short distance, a back pedal or a backwards running mechanic, if you like. What does that look like? And then a crossover step, a shuffle, or a run. Okay, so they're sort of 3 areas that we're gonna unravel a little bit for you. Okay, so I'm just going to focus your attention really on the top box. So to the left, we've got the physical actions. So down the left-hand side, we've touched on them three areas, or them 3 different types of movements. So if we zoom in on the top box, really, so the acceleration, so the characteristics that we're really going after would be that explosive power, that reactive strength and the plyometrics, and that low and forward body position to cover short distances quickly. Okay, so hopefully by looking at the videos and the stuff that we've been explaining to then this bit of a summary page, you can start to, I think, help understand that what movements are required and what the physical demands could be in these areas. And hopefully, as we'll come on to now, starts to get you thinking about how you can help your goalkeepers when working on them.
So quite simply, when we're developing physical skills, you may be looking for a whole approach. So first thing we need to do is identify the key physical actions related to those match limitations, which we've identified the types of movements that the goalkeepers need to produce in certain moments in transitions. The next thing you're looking at is practice and train the physical action in isolation through different methods. So we spoke about the back pedal, and this could be, if you're working in a professional club, this could be, I don't know, maybe in the gym or something as an activation exercise before they go out. I've seen people do it with resistance bands. That's before they go out on training. If you're not working at a professional club, you're in the grassroots, this could be just your little activation movements with a ball involved as well, backpedaling into a position to receive some sort of strike, or accelerating off the line to come and smother a ball, something like that. You can get those movements directly involved in isolation and maybe start to coach some of those movements as well. The next thing you're looking at then is introducing combined physical actions, but still in isolation through different methods. So like Matt's clip there with the Leicester goalkeeper, that back pedal movement with the short back pedal movements to then accelerate. Again, after you've done a back pedal movement, after you've done an acceleration, can you then start to incorporate maybe an isolated practice to put those into play where you're doing both at the same time? And the same with a crossover and run to back pedal as well. And then lastly, you're looking to reintroduce and challenge these physical actions within goalkeeper and transition specific scenarios. So hopefully when we went through the sessions with you and give you some ideas around certain sessions, if you just look at the physical movements, I think there's quite a few of those movements quite evident within those sessions around your practice design as well. So that brings us towards the end of the webinar, and I think we're bang on time for the second half. So I think we've done all right there.
Great time.
Really appreciate everybody coming and logging in and listening to us tonight. Hopefully it's been insightful for everybody working at different levels of the game. Hopefully we've given you some food for thought to go away and think about. There's been some great comments in the comments box. Really appreciate that. Sorry if we've not managed to come to 1 or 2 questions, but hopefully we have answered 1 or 2. And yeah, thanks very much for listening and take care.
Thanks everyone.